Will they see me?
No. Good morning. No, you're good. We do have someone here in the classroom today, so they'll get to be my participant, which is really nice. I love it. So if you guys don't know, this class is always, available on my YouTube channel and in the Resilient Realtor Facebook page, as well as the forum Facebook page. But then I also teach the class actually live, which is awesome, right? So if you are, in the mood to come to a class live here in Chandler, that is an option, and I highly recommend that you do, so that way, we can get to know each other. So I love it. If you are joining me on Facebook, go ahead and drop a comment, and I should be able to see them, and I'll answer your questions as we go through. It's going to be a fast class because it's only an hour, but I promise you at the end of this class, you're going to walk away with some tips and tricks on how to stop wasting your time and get your life back. Because one of the things that I notice is real estate, raise your hand by yourself or in the classroom if you feel like you never clock in and clock out, right? It's not something that ever stops. And I don't know if it's just this industry, but our clients contact us late in the night, early in the morning. And, with technology today, the expectation is that we're going to respond, and we're going to respond quickly. So yes, someone just commented, absolutely. So my goal is to help you set some boundaries and help you get more done so that you can actually enjoy having some time off. One of the things that I do is I actually coach for Tom Ferry International, one of his coaches, and I was working with a client yesterday, and she has just been working so hard, relentlessly. And in this market, she's a newer agent. In this market, representing buyers can be exhausting, right? I mean, it just hit the market. I have to show it today, or it's going to have 20 offers and be gone. So we specifically talked about what it looks like for her right now to set some boundaries and kind of move forward. So that being said, we're going to jump right into our class. And I run a team here in the Phoenix metro area called the Big Helper Realty Group. And we are always looking for talented individuals who are looking to grow their real estate business. So you can learn more about my team at bighelpergroup.com. And let me know if you're interested in seeing if a team might be a good fit for you. It's not for everybody, but for a lot of people, it's a great stepping stone to just get into production. And of course, you've got incredible trainers and support that we're looking for to help agents. All of the slides that I'm going to be sharing with you today are available at bighelpertraining.com. So you can go to bighelpertraining.com, and I'm going to ask you for your name, your email, and your phone number, and then you will get access to all my slides. And then my goal is to be able to continue to give you tips and tricks to help you grow your business, be more efficient, and just really have a long and fruitful career in real estate. So let's jump into it. If you have never come to one of my class and you don't know much about me, I'm going to give you just a little bit of insight as to why I feel like I have authority about speaking about time management and really utilizing our time. So in 2010, my husband and I became parents overnight. This was actually the first day that I became a mom officially, right? And these are my cute three, we call them the originals, but I literally became a mom overnight to these beautiful people. And shortly after that, I became a mom to 5. And it started it started growing. The next thing I knew, I had everything under control. I was obviously a genius at raising children, right? No, it was a mess. My life spun out of control. I went from 0 to 3 kids, and now all of a sudden, so on this little pizza box thing, that's when my triplets got into the pantry. And they spilled oatmeal all over, and then they took the water from the fridge and just pushed on it all over the floor, right? Like, this was my life when my triplets were just growing and It was crazy every single day. My son Andrew had a Lego party in his room one night. That was super fun, right? It was a mess. I was drowning, and I knew that I needed to develop some strategies and some skills because I was still working full time. My husband was working full time, and our family was growing. We had these babies because we were fostering infants. We had babies all the time. So it was just out of necessity that I developed a playbook that would allow me to still work because I loved working. I still love working. And I also love my family. And you shouldn't have to pick and choose, right? If you want to work, you should be able to work and still have a beautiful family. So shout out to my husband though, because he has helped me along the way. Like he would change diapers, he would bathe babies, he makes dinner, he does all of that stuff. And he sells real estate. He's really good at that. So it was out of necessity. Like I said, these are my triplets, 3 babies at the same age, and it was insane. This is my family now, so we're a little bit older. Everybody can bathe themselves and dress themselves. And so my routines have changed a little bit, but everything that I'm going to share with you, it doesn't matter if you just are, if it's you and 2 dogs, these principles hold true for anybody who finds themselves being busy and needs to be more efficient during their workday. So let's go over my playbook. I run 3 things in my playbook. 1, it's all about routines and habits. 2, we're going to talk about tracking and measuring. I know nobody likes to track and measure, but I promise you it really makes a difference. And then I'm going to end this class with just some almost like life hacks, things that I have figured out along the way that really save me time, energy, and effort. So if you have questions, you can drop them into the Facebook comments and I'll make sure to pick them up. But let's go into routine or into play number 1, which is all about the routines. I like to call them winning moments, right? When things are just kind of going right. We notice that, right? You definitely notice when they're not going right? When you wake up stressed, when you wake up late, and then, the rest of the day just kind of just it doesn't seem to be working. And we see those all around us. Well, I actually want you to focus on the winning moments, and then we're going to build routines around them. So there are 3 plays that I run in my routines consistently. The first one I call wake up in the F's. Now, I've actually changed my philosophy on this a little bit. As I mentioned, when my 3 youngest kiddos, I call them the triplets, when they were, 3, 4, and 5, I would have to wake up at like 4:40, 5 o'clock. So I called it wake up in the F's. I find though that if you don't have to wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning, then you don't need to, right? I coach a lot of people that don't have to wake up that early. The most important thing is to have a morning routine. So whether you're waking up like I was or still this morning up at 5 a.m., that seems to work really well for me because I can get things done before my family is up. But if you can wake up at 7 and still get everything done, kudos to you. The most important thing though is that we have a routine. So one of my favorite books that I'm going to recommend that you listen to on Audible, pick up the book. It's called The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. And if you are in real estate specifically, he has a real estate version. If you're just in sales or you're just listening to this and you want to be more efficient during the day, The Miracle Morning is great for everybody because he's going to teach you some things, some habits to really get a morning routine that's going to set you up for success during the day. So a morning routine is very important. What is a morning routine? Some people have morning routines that are an hour long. Some people have morning routines that are 10, 15 minutes. The point is that you have structure on when you're waking up, right? So we set alarms and we wake up at a specific time when we say we're going to wake up. And I like to call it bookending my day. My morning routine consists of doing some journaling, like kind of a brain dump, get things out. I review my calendar in the morning and make sure that I'm aware of all my appointments. Did anything change? I'm also reviewing my goals. So I review my top 10 goals every single day to make sure that the decisions I'm making today, are they in alignment with what's on my calendar, right? Because that's people, actually I forget off the top of my head, I forget the percentage of people that set goals. So I won't put a percentage there, but it's not very many. And the people that do set goals that actually put them down on paper and then revisit them is even less. So I believe that you should be looking at your goals frequently. I like to look at them daily and then look at my schedule to make sure. That just takes me a couple minutes. I also then like to read and make sure that I'm filling my mind with good things that are going to help keep my mindset, my headspace in the right space. And then, of course, exercise. Just getting your body moving up, whether it's stretching, meditation. I like to ride my Peloton or I like to go for a walk. Both of those things allow me to just kind of get activated moving. Some people, it's getting a cup of coffee and sitting down and just kind of having that moment. But either way, have a solid morning routine. There's a ton of YouTube videos on how you can structure that. Part of my morning routine is setting my intentions for the day. And this is really important because in real estate and in sales and in life in general, your schedule can change on a dime, right? So in the morning, you need to go through and you need to review, what do I absolutely have to accomplish today? What's non-negotiable? Those are my intentions. I'm going to make decisions, right? I heard a phenomenal quote that said, not making a decision is making a decision, right? So if you are not deciding what you're actually going to do today, how many people am I going to call? Am I prospecting today or not, right? How many appointments? Do I need to do laundry? Whatever it is, I would prioritize and set my intentions for the day so that I'm not winging it. And we're going to talk more about winging it, but so many people go through their day and then the day gets away from them and they didn't get anything accomplished, right? Maybe they're using their email as, a crutch that they're just checking their email all day long. I heard another fantastic quote from a mentor that said, your email is someone else's to-do list, right? So if you're letting someone else's to-do list prioritize your day, I would say in this real estate market, so many agents are reactionary, meaning they're just constantly on high alert, waiting for someone to tell them what they need to do today. Oh, my client needs this, my client needs that, or this, and that. Take some time, set your intentions for the day, review your goals. Now, in order to have a solid morning routine, you also need to have a nightly routine, right? Like if you're going to wake up in the F's, what time do you think I go to bed, right? If I'm waking up at 5 in the morning or 4:50 is usually the earliest I'll wake up. Sometimes it'll be 4:30 if I have something specifically to do, but for the most time, it's around 5 in the morning. I'm not going to bed at 11 o'clock at night, right? We have a joke at my house that nice mom goes to bed at 8. What that means is by 8 o'clock, I'm actually going into my nightly routine, right? My nightly routine consists of winding down, right? I look at my calendar. What do I have on the schedule tomorrow? What time do I need to wake up? I set my intentions for the morning. Sometimes we do have appointments that run late and I'll stay up later and then I'll say, what time am I going to wake up tomorrow? It's 9:30, it's 9:45, it's 10 o'clock. You know what? I'm probably going to wake up at 5:30 because I don't have to be to my appointment by X time. I do that intentionally. I don't want to set an alarm clock and then hit snooze. That's not my style. I'm going to wake up when I said I was going to wake up, and I'm going to be realistic with my time. So having a good nightly routine is important. For those of you guys who have kids at home, hey, first day of summer here in the Chandler School District, so super excited. Most of the kids woke up at 6:30. Like, what? It's the first day of summer. You're supposed to sleep in. But when my kids are in school, some of our nightly routines consist of pulling our clothes out the night before, getting our shoes and our backpacks, right? Like everything in order. Why do you think I take the time to get all those things in order at night? It's because I don't want a crazy, chaotic morning, right? I want my morning to run smoother. And I know in my house, when you can't find a shoe, all hell's going to break loose, right? Because the bus is coming in 5 minutes and you haven't packed your you haven't packed your lunchbox and you haven't had your medicine and you haven't had your breakfast and you don't have a shirt on and I can't find my shoe, right? And then everything escalates. And I don't like that. So the night before, it's get the shoes out. If you have trouble picking your clothes, we're going to pick your clothes. And when they were babies, that meant I packed the bottles the night before. I packed the diaper bag, everything I can do the night before. For myself, that includes making sure I know where my tennis shoes are if I'm going to go for a walk, making sure my workout clothes are there, my water bottle is filled up, right? I want to reduce the friction of me being able to do what I need to do in the morning. And I just don't want to have those moments of patience. Like that's me. Maybe you've got infinite patience, but I don't like the way that feels. So the second part of my playbook 1 is don't wing it. This is, I don't know if it's because everybody gets into real estate as a second career, right? Like we come from different backgrounds. We come from the restaurant industry, the medical industry. We come, from construction. I've met people that have come from lawyers that are also real estate agents, like all walks of life. And I don't know what it is about real estate agents that think they don't need to have a schedule, don't need to have a calendar. I am here today to tell you, you absolutely cannot wing it, right? It is important that you keep a calendar and that you move your business forward. If you wing it, you're probably going to be one of the statistics, the 70+% people that don't make it in real estate. They don't have a schedule and they don't treat their business like a business. Businesses don't wing it. They don't just say, oh yeah, today I think we're going to be open from like 10 to 2 and tomorrow we're not coming in and maybe Sunday we'll open up for an hour. Could you imagine trying to go to a store that didn't have set hours? It just wouldn't work. So a couple things that we do on our team and as agents and as parents to help not wing it is, one thing we'll do is have a weekly planning meeting. So if it's just you have a weekly planning meeting with yourself. I really like to do mine on Sunday. So that's why you see bullet point 3 says Sunday night. I like to do mine on Sunday. Sunday night, I go through and I look at the entire week. Most times during the week, I'm actually already projecting in. My schedule is probably 90% set for next week, meaning I've booked out 90% of my schedule for next week. And next week's going to be a fun week for me. I'm actually going to be taking a half a day off because it's in my calendar and it's scheduled. So it's pretty exciting. So a weekly planning meeting. If it's more than just you, then that means getting together with, your partner and you look and say, what do you have on the calendar? Here's what I have on the calendar. What does the family have on the calendar? Do we have doctor's appointments? Do we have school graduations, right? That's a big thing going on right now, all the end of the year performances and things like that. So that weekly planning meeting really puts out what you guys are actually already have on the calendar before we start putting in projects and prospecting and things like that. I highly recommend Google. It's one of my favorite calendars. And that's because it's so easy to sync with other people and share. So for me, a lot of my team members have access to my calendar and they will book me out and they will help me with my bookings and managing my schedule. But it's just with one toggle, I can see my husband's schedule. He can see mine. He knows where I'm at. He knows when to book me. And so I share my calendar with all of my family as well so that they know when to schedule me. One little trick that I really like to do when I'm doing my weekly planning meeting, and by the way, it doesn't have to take a long time, right? A lot of our planning meetings that Meryl and I do are pretty dang short. Maybe 5-10 minutes at max, not even 10 minutes, I think, because my husband hates meetings. So maybe 5 minutes, but it's just basically, who's doing this on this day and that day. And same thing with my team, but I really like to visualize my next week and what I want to accomplish, especially when it comes to projects that I'm trying to push forward or anything that's like prospecting based that I need to do. I want to see myself hitting that appointment goal, hitting that conversation goal. And then from an infrastructure point, a weekly operations meeting is absolutely crucial. So when it's not just you, and you have, an assistant, right? Whether we have virtual assistants, we have in-house assistants and operations manager. We run a operations meeting every single week so that we can stay accountable for the projects that we're pushing forward, marketing projects, those type of things. Without that operations meeting, things just tend to linger on for a long time, and there's unmet expectations because nobody knows what they're doing, right? So those are just a couple things that I'm going to say, don't wing it, take time. I like that bookend of my day. I like to review my calendar in the morning and then review my calendar at night. Did I get everything done? Did I miss something? What am I doing tomorrow? So that I can continue to make choices on prioritizing my time. Those are really important things. So the last part of my routines is time blocking. Now, this is an interesting concept because I had never really heard of time blocking until I became a real estate agent. And then I heard someone say, oh yes, I time block. Actually, it was Corinne Nguyen. I attended a class my very first year. She's an incredible agent here in the Valley. And I attended one of her classes and she just rocked my world. And that was the first time I had heard of it. There's a lot of different ways to do time blocking, but most people don't realize that they're doing it. I want you to think back to when you were in high school. In high school, you were time blocking. You just didn't know it. Think about that. My kids have 6 different periods, right? And you're not doing math when you're in English. What are you doing when you're in math? Hopefully you're doing math, right? That's the idea. But we naturally were time blocking through middle school and high school. And then we go out into our careers and go out into the real world. And what do? We stop prioritizing and we stop creating, specific times in our calendar where we're going to work on something. It's the craziest thing. We just say, oh, okay. And we just put it all out there. So time blocking is something that you've already been trained to do. And I want you to bring it back into your life if you're not. So I have 2 different types of blocks and I prioritize my blocks a little bit differently. So when I'm looking to time block for the next week, the first thing I'm going to look at is my personal and family things. And I say that first because 1, you can get really backwards in real estate, meaning you can let this business completely overrun your life. And I'm going to challenge you, to if your kids have a doctor's appointment, don't cancel it because your client wants to see a home. Your client's going to understand, right? There are things that need to stay there. So the first thing that's in my calendar is, when we're coaching basketball on Tuesday night or we're teaching Cub Scouts on Thursday night, right? Like those things are already in my calendar when I am taking the dog to the vet or when we've got a dentist appointment. So the first thing I look in the time blocks is, okay, what do we got going on in our personal life with the family? The next most important thing I'm going to put in my calendar is my prospecting time. That's super important because when agents get busy, they stop prospecting, and that's why they experience that roller coaster in their business. And I don't want you to experience that. So look ahead and hit those prospecting. I teach another class. Actually, I'm going to be teaching it in June. It's all about business planning, and it really shows you how to take your business plan and put it into your calendar. So keep an eye open for that. It's going to be a great class, and it'll really help you realize, where do I need to put those prospecting hours? How much time should I be prospecting, right? That's a great question. So that's another class that I teach. You definitely can join us. And then the next thing that I look at is my projects, right? And so my note to you is, if something needs to happen, it should be in your calendar. If it's not in your calendar, you're way less likely to do it. And so that's one of the first steps. To ease you into time blocking, I'm going to suggest for 2 weeks, you just focus on one of those things. And that's probably the family and personal time, right? Meaning to ease into time blocking, just pick one item that you want to time block, right? Maybe it's exercising, right? And you put exercise as a time block in your calendar and you hit that for a week. Then you add on the next time block, which is, the next personal thing, when you're going to do the laundry, when you're going to get groceries, those type of things. When you get really good at keeping appointments with yourself, we can start adding in the other ones, and we'll talk more about that. So the 2 types of blocks that I have are soft time blocks and hard time blocks. One thing that most agents are really good at is that if you set a listing appointment or you set an appointment with somebody else, you show up, right? You absolutely show up. Tracy's here in the classroom with me. If I set an appointment with Tracy, I'm not just going to blow that off. I'm going to show up. And most of you do that. The problem we run into is that we set appointments with ourselves, right? Like, oh, I'm going to make my calls. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to make my calls. And then we don't keep those appointments with ourselves. We lack integrity with ourselves when it comes to keeping our appointments. And so I would say that if you're not good at keeping appointments with yourself, meaning you just choose to do other things or you ignore it, then your prospecting has to be a hard block that doesn't move, right? So a hard block means something in my calendar that if a client wanted me to go on an appointment with them at that time, I would not be able to, and I would have to coach them into another time, right? Like that is set in stone. You're going to speak at go to a listing appointment. That's a hard block, right? If another client asked you to go to a listing appointment at that time, you would just say, oh, I can do before, I can do after. Your prospecting needs to be like that. Otherwise, you won't do it. What I oftentimes see is agents will just put this like arbitrary in their calendar every single day. I'm going to make calls every day from 9 to 11. And then they set appointments over it and they don't move it. For me, a soft block would be if I'm working on a project, right? So this afternoon I have blocked out, I'm working on a recruiting project. And if somebody needed to go on an appointment with me, I would say, oh yeah, I could do that. And then I would take my project time and I would just move it somewhere else into my calendar. So that's the caveat I give you on soft blocks. Soft blocks, sometimes you can just delete the block if it's, something that you need to do, that you want to do, but it's not that important. Otherwise, you just move it. And it comes to prospecting, don't make it a soft block, or if you absolutely have to move it, or move it. Don't just railroad over it. That's the mistake people make, is they set an appointment and then they never do the prospecting. So I recommend that you funnel your clients into appointment slots. Get really good at scripting, right? So when someone talks to me on the phone, I never just say, oh, when would you like to meet? Like, okay, first of all, they don't know that, I'm coaching basketball on Tuesday night. They don't know that my daughter has a kindergarten graduation Thursday at 6, right? Like, they don't know all of these things that are already in my schedule. So why would I just go out there and say, I'm wide open. When would you like to meet? First of all, I'm not wide open, right? So one of the first questions I'm going to ask them is I'm going to say, do weekdays or weekends work better, right? So I almost look at it like when you're herding cattle, right? And you're putting them into the chutes. It's like, so the first decision are weekdays or weekends, okay? So if they say weekdays, I know that I am not available on Tuesdays and Thursdays before 4 o'clock. So then the next thing I'm going to say is, okay, perfect. Are afternoons or evenings better? I'm never going to say mornings because my mornings are always booked. So the first question is weekdays or weekends. Then I'm going to say afternoons or evenings, right? You might have mornings available. That's completely up to you. And then when they tell me afternoons, I'm busy, right? Next week, my schedule is 90% full. So I'm looking at my calendar and I'm going to say, oh, perfect. Well, I've got a Monday or a Friday. Which one would be better for you, 3 or 5, right? Like I'm funneling them in, but they get choices all along the way. So it's ideally going to work better for them. But by asking a couple key questions, you can funnel your clients into your predetermined appointment slots. You'll be less likely to, be the bearer of bad news when they say, oh, well, let's go out Tuesday. Oh, I can't Tuesday. Oh, I can't Thursday, right? That's just awkward. And then you'll be forced to make a decision of, do I not go to the basketball game because I got this great appointment? Don't put yourself in that position by not opening that. One of the tools that I use is Calendly, which we'll talk about at the end of class. It really is great because I just share my calendar link and my clients can then book a time that works for them and works for me. And I've blocked out because it's in my calendar when I'm doing all of these different things. So the last thing that I'll say about time blocking is my life absolutely changed when I started to learn how to put things, I call it days by design, when I started putting things into specific days. So when Meryl and I first became foster parents, the state wanted to come in, it felt like every day to the house, right? They were constantly coming over because we had a couple different caseworkers. And so new kids coming in and then all of these meetings, and our schedules were just, we just had whiplash because we would just say, yes, 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 yes. And it was so crazy because my business coach, we were complaining to our business coach and we were saying like, it's so hard to keep a schedule, right? It's so hard because, this is really demanding and they have to do all these meetings. And he goes, well, why don't you just tell them when you can do it? And I remember Meryl and I were like, yeah, why don't we set some boundaries? Why don't we tell them when we're available, right? And so we started funneling, and Mondays actually became the day that, it didn't matter if you were a caseworker, a state worker, a physical therapist, a speech therapist. It didn't matter what you were. If you wanted to come to the Jenks house, then it was going to be Mondays, like after 1 o'clock, right? Because that was what we said. So when they said, oh, we need to come over, it's like, perfect, we're available, and Mondays after. So that became our first day by design. Was we really started funneling all of these meetings into Monday afternoons. Now, some Monday afternoons we didn't have anything, but a lot of times we were able to schedule multiple things for Monday afternoons, and it became more predictable. Then we started scheduling doctor's appointments on the same days, right? So currently our family doesn't schedule doctor's appointments on Tuesdays and Thursdays because mom's completely booked. So it's Wednesday, right? So same thing, like I need to get my hair done, I start scheduling them on Wednesdays. I want to get a facial, I schedule it on Wednesdays. Wednesday is my half day. I usually block the afternoon out to get my personal things done. So all non-emergency appointments that I need to set, I'm going to funnel to Wednesday afternoon. I mean, it's so funny. I even have my mom trained. She had rotator cuff surgery, and she's like, I didn't schedule it for Tuesday or Thursday because I know you're busy. She scheduled it for Monday, and it was perfect because it was, it was a little bit easier. And so it's going to take time, but think about a day of the week that you could start scheduling out for personal things, right? And after 6 to 8 weeks, you'll find that you have a more predictable schedule because you're doing things days by design. Fridays is actually one of the days that I teach here at the forum. That's because my schedule is a little bit lighter on Fridays. So I always tend to funnel all my classes to Fridays between 9 and 11, right? That's my day by design. So definitely recommend that you do that. Here's an example of what my schedule looked like when we were homeschooling. Oh my gosh, guys, like if that didn't give me gray hair, I don't know what did. So there is this sample on there, but it kind of shows you how I was blocking. Now I do have buffer times, right? If you were to look at my schedule, I usually have a break or a buffer time. If I'm going to have a call session, I usually will do an email. So actually you can see that right here. This is a Wednesday. And before I go into my call session, one of the things I'll do is I'll clear out my inbox, my emails, and return all my voicemails and any urgent escrow items. The reason that I do that is because for me, going into a call session and I've got a bunch of unread text messages and unread emails and right, like, oh, my brain's just not in the right spot, right? So those are some things that I look at. Now, look at my Saturday. This is really important, right? We know that you guys all got into real estate because you didn't want to work nights, weekends, and holidays. Ha ha to you, because you get into real estate and you work nights, weekends, and holidays. And so one of the biggest mistakes that I see agents making is on a Saturday, they'll just book somebody like right in the middle of the day. And I think, gosh, if you were really structured, you could potentially get in 4 different clients in one day. Look at that. I know that I have a 9 to an 11 slot. Then I've got a 12 to 2, a 3 to 5, and a 6 to 7. I can meet with 4 different clients in one day if I structure it. Why? Because I'm never just going to say, what time would you like to meet? I'm going to say afternoons, right? Mornings on a Saturday, I'll say morning, afternoon, or evening. What works best for you? Okay, I've got, a session between 3 and 5. Perfect. And then of course there's some scripting around that's going to allow me to not, and in this market, you don't have 10 homes to show anyways, right? You're only going to be able to show 2 or 3 if you're lucky, and they're probably going to be sold because it's that fast. But this changes weekly. This is a sample of, when I put this class together, this is what it looked like. But I will tell you that my schedule for next week doesn't look anything like this. It has those core components of my family obligations, my prospecting, and my projects, plus my appointment slots. And that's okay for me. It doesn't need to be written in stone. It just needs to get done, and we need to make decisions. So play number 2 in my playbook is to track and measure. This is a critical piece of anybody trying to improve their productivity and just trying to use their time more efficiently. So the first thing that I would recommend is that you set expectations. So you're going to say, okay, Christy, who should I set expectations with? Set expectations with your clients, right? Nice mom goes to bed at what time? 8. So I haven't set expectations with my kids, but I do let my clients know, hey, just so you know, I go to bed really early because I wake up really early. So if you reach out to me after 7, I probably won't respond. It'll be, first thing in the morning. I set that expectation up front because it's important, right? In this day and age, when people text you at, 8:00 at night, they probably expect you to respond. And that's just something that I'm not going to do because I'm probably winding down for bed, might not even have my phone on me. And, I might even be asleep. So setting expectations with clients, setting expectations with other agents. If you work in an office, a lot of times you go in to make calls and someone sits down next to you and they just start chatting you up. Well, hey, that's really nice. I want to make friends and I love, working with other people. But if I'm in a call session, it's like game on, right? So set expectations with the people that you work with. I really love to chat with you. I've got, another hour of phone calls to make. Let's catch up after. No one's going to be mad at you for that. Set expectations with your family members. Share your prospecting goals with your family members. Allow them to help you. So many times I see when one of the partners is in real estate and the other one's not, and maybe it's not even full time, that their partner never knows, like, are you just on Amazon or are you like running comps, right? So let everybody know when you're working and when you're not working. The other big thing to track and measure is your HBUT, right? Your highest and best use of time. So for a real estate agent, what is your highest and best use of time? Setting appointments, going on appointments, negotiating contracts, and closing deals. 70% of your time should be spent on income generating activities. Not designing a flyer or, some of these marketing materials that people get way too, involved in marketing and not enough in prospecting. Marketing is important. Prospecting though, that's where, that's like the bread and butter. You've got to get that in, and follow-up, right? When I say prospecting, we're talking lead generation and lead follow-up. So 70% of your time is going to be spent on lead generation and lead follow-up. And if it's not, you might not be, reaching your true potential. So there's going to be project time in there. And that's why I say you got to start tracking and measuring these things. For busy parents, busy agents, I always say, be ready to work in small bursts. Part of my planning session is knowing who I'm going to call next week, right? So I actually have a call list. And I'm very techie, so I don't need to print mine off. But for a lot of my coaching clients, I have them printed off, right? So you print off next week's call list. You put it in your backpack, you put it in your briefcase, whatever you use to carry around. So next time you're sitting there and your client's late, you pull out your call list and you start making calls, right? You're ready to work in small bursts. Or, during this pandemic where so many parents were homeschooling, I said, when your kid gets on to do a Zoom, get ready to just blast through your calls, right? Because that's a small burst. So be prepared. That's part of not winging it. And part of that weekly session is looking ahead. Who do I need to call this week? Do I have that information accessible so that if I am super busy, but I find myself, a 10, 15 minute, you can make a lot of calls in 10 or 15 minutes. You can also just chill out and scroll on Facebook. But which one's going to get you more business, right? Like, again, it's being intentional. One of my favorite things to do is to gamify all of the monotony and stuff that we have to do. So I'm going to show you some of our hacks on how we gamify that through our 100-point plan system. And actually, that's a tip that I picked up from my good friend, Mark Pattinson in San Diego. It's an incredible agent. And we picked up the 100 points from him. I picked up our accountability books from another friend, Treasure. That's the great thing about this, guys, is that, most of this stuff, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Find what other successful agents are doing and just do it, right? Be willing to do it. I do recommend that you get yourself an accountability partner. It's really easy to slack off when nobody is, when you're not reporting to anybody. And that's one of the traps that agents fall into is they get into real estate because they want to be their own boss. And that's all fine and dandy. But if you don't have the discipline to do what is needed, well, then we're going to get into trouble. So I absolutely recommend that you partner up, get an accountability, get a mastermind group, or even better, have a coach because, that's going to help you in your business. And then I'm going to show you a couple tools that I love to use to track. But honestly, guys, it could be as easy as paper and pencil tracking. You should absolutely know, though, how many conversations and appointments we're setting weekly. So let's look at some of the cool tools that that we use. So here are two different examples. The one on the left is what we use here at the Big Helper team. It's called our accountability book. And we change these and we customize these, based on agent feedback. But this is a book that we print out quarterly, and they can track their new conversations and their nurture conversations on the bottom, track, buyer appointments set, buyer appointments met, seller appointments set, seller appointments met. But then some of the daily things that they should be doing, right? Like role playing. Are you role playing? I am going to be teaching a class later this month here at the forum, so make sure to check out the calendar. That's all about circle prospecting, calling expireds for sale by owners. It's called Dialing for Dollars. So if you're interested in creating a new lead pillar that's phone-based, make sure to come into that class here in June. And some of these daily checklists that are just going to help us stay focused, right? Am I doing the things that are important to move my business forward? This 100-point daily checklist, and by the way, we're just building these in Google Sheets. That's why I say they're completely customizable. And I've got some templates in the resources at bighelpertraining.com. So you can actually download these, customize them for you, and start to gamify your business day. So again, how do you, the goal is to get to 100 points. I don't care how you get to 100 points, but if you set a listing appointment, you got 25 points right there, right? Set a buyer appointment, that's 15 points. Have a closing, that's 15 points. Do some pop buys or create a bomb video email, a text message, past client touches. There's so many different things you can do to move your business forward. And then of course, we're going to focus on our gratitudes, our wins, our affirmations, all of the things that keep our mindset in the right place. When agents start to track, so many agents come to me and say, oh my gosh, Christy, I'm so busy. I work all the time. And then when we start tracking, they're getting like 10 conversations a week. 10 conversations and you're going to be back to serving tables, right? You're going to be back to doing whatever you were doing before real estate, because that's just not enough, guys. It's not enough. You should be having 65 plus conversations each week. If you can do that, you'll make $100,000 in this business. It's that simple. Real estate is math, right? Knowing your numbers is important. So start tracking and start tracking the hours that you work, right? Not just sitting around, perusing the internet, but when you're actually prospecting, how many hours a week are you prospecting? How many hours of lead follow-up? And then of course the conversations and appointments set and appointments met. So those are just some of the ways that we track and measure. I also really love this tool. If you're a single agent, this is one of my favorite tools for your business. It's called CTE, Committed to Excellence. I don't get paid by them. I just really love the tool. And it's about $35 a month, but it tracks everything. It tracks your productivity. It tracks your income, how much you're paying out, your spending, your ROI per lead source. It's a phenomenal tool. So a lot of times teams have things like that. We use a product called Sisu for our team. But again, for a solo agent, this is a really great tool. It's very inexpensive. And it also does transaction management. So it's got a lot of uses for the cost. So the last thing in there, is start looking at what you are doing. If you're closing more than 1 or 2 deals a month, you should really look at getting a transaction coordinator. There's a lot of times a transaction coordinator you can pay per file. And then when you start doing, 5 to 10 deals a month, then you hire an assistant that does transaction coordinator and, everything else. But I would start looking at the things that are in your calendar and what you're doing and saying, does this have to be done by me? Is it part of my 70%, right? Or could this be done by somebody else? Virtual assistants are a phenomenal tool because a lot of them have specialized training, which, by the way, guys, should I be creating marketing flyers? No, right? I might like to do it and that's fine, but is it the highest and best use of my time as a real estate agent? No. Setting appointments, going on appointments, negotiating contracts, and closing deals. Those are the things that make me money and move my business forward. And so I should really be looking to let someone who is a marketing specialist, right? Or who knows those kind of things do that. Same thing with like dropping off lock boxes, picking up lock boxes. A lot of these things shouldn't be done by you. They could be done by an assistant. And then there's just really cool apps out there like TaskRabbit or Tackle where you can just pay somebody to go do something, right? One of the things that, we do at our house is, I pay for someone to clean the house every single day. Why? Because I'm really cranky when I come home and my house is dirty and I have to clean it and my kids are making messes. So I just show up as a better person when I have someone helping me with the house. I resent my family less and I'm not as cranky. So that's just me. I'm willing to buy back my time, right? So if I didn't have somebody cleaning the house, then I would be doing it. So I'm just trading, and I'm at a point in my career where I could do that. So, look at that. When you can pay somebody and that's going to triple your output, it's absolutely worth it. So, and there's a lot of things that you can pay people to do inside your business and for you personally, they're going to help you be more, productive at work. So this is, I always share this picture because when I used to go grocery shopping, people would always look at me. Most of the time we would need 2 carts, so I'd have to bring somebody. It was like 3 to 4 hours of going through, getting all the groceries, and it was just such a time and energy suck. Now I order all my groceries online, and it's absolutely amazing and worth every single penny to order my groceries online. I got 3 hours a week back, and so I'm going to share with you some of the things that I do to save time in little, I call them busy life time savers. So 90% of the time, I have 0 issues with ordering my groceries online. The only time that I'll go and store is if I need like specialty meats or specialty produce, right? Because every once in a while I'll order I'll order 2 pounds of bananas and they'll give me 2 bananas, right? Like most of the time it works out really good. So if I'm going to go into the grocery store, it's going to be because, my online grocery place doesn't have what I'm looking for. And it's a quick in and out. By the way, you save money. It's easier to stick to a budget because you're seeing the total come up as you're ordering your groceries. But then there are things that you have to buy every single month, like toilet paper, right? Like toilet paper and cleaning supplies. They're things that you have to buy. I find that Amazon, because I'm an Amazon Prime member, Amazon actually has a really cool subscription. They will even give you discounts if you subscribe. So I never have to think about buying toilet paper, Ziploc bags, paper towels, deodorant, shavers, all of these different things. They just come on my Amazon subscription, and it saves me mental energy and it saves me time. So again, if you like Amazon, I love Amazon. It will really save you time and money. You need to, as an agent today, and it's 2021, and you need to get with the times and utilize technology. Like, I'm just going to put it out there. If you are on the fence with technology, you need to get off the fence because you need to know how to use the mobile MLS. You need to know how to use HomeSnap. You need to know how to use Showing Time. You need to know how to use the tools of the trade, and a lot of it like DocuSign and Transaction Desk and all of these things that we use. Get very comfortable with using them on your computer and on your mobile device because it's going to save you time. And trust me, you're going to drive by a property and your client's going to say, hey, what about that one? And you don't want to say, oh, I have no idea. You can say, well, let me pull over and I'll find it, right? And then you can pull over, look up the address and find, oh, that home's already under contract. That's typically what happens, right? So get very comfortable with, I love HomeSnap. I love mobile MLS. One of my favorite note-taking devices when you're going to CE classes and you're going to other classes, I like Evernote. I can take Evernote. I can record the class. I can take a picture. I can type my notes, and it syncs across all of my devices. And then I can go back and actually I'll say, oh, you know what? Someone said something about X, Y, and Z. I'll just go into Evernote and type in the word that I remember, and it pulls all of my notes, and I can see which one it's at. I use Evernote for a lot of things. Now, Google just came out with one called Keep, and it looks pretty good. I'm just so ingrained in Evernote, I haven't made the switch, but Google does have one. The next 2 tools, Zapier and IFTTT. These tools are some of the coolest things you've ever seen. So basically what both of them do is they connect technology to technology, right? So we're Zillow Flex partners, and one of the things we do is we use Zapier to connect our information to our CRM. So every time we get a Facebook lead, we get some sort of lead from some other device, Zapier will automatically connect that third-party device to our CRM. That's just one tiny example. When someone calls the sign on the number on our sign calls, we use Zapier to connect the third party, two different parties, to connect them together to talk to our CRM, right? Like, it's just, if you have any type of devices that you want to connect, like your calendar or your email, to something else, it's a fantastic tool, especially when it comes to lead management. Now, IFTTT, that's just fun. It stands for if this, then that. So you can set up all sorts of like Amazon hacks. If it's going to rain, text me to grab my umbrella. What? Yeah, it will like read the weather and then text you because it might rain. Now, it never rains here, but you get what I'm saying. So we use a lot of Zapier technology to do reoccurring things, right? To send reoccurring reminders, or those conditional ones. If someone puts something on my calendar for this, then I want you to send them this email. Like, it's just so cool. I already mentioned CTE, which is a fantastic business tracker. If you are not running QuickBooks or something similar, you need to treat your business like a business. You should have a P&L, a profit and loss statement every single month. I've seen so many people sell a ton of homes and not make any money, right? Because they're not managing their finances. One of my favorite phone apps is called Ripple, R-I-P-L. I didn't update this one, but there's another one. So just take that note. It's called In Stories, and it's for Instagram. And it creates beautiful, beautiful stories. I learned it from one of my coaching clients in Philadelphia, and I absolutely love it. So Ripple and In Stories, and also Canva. I don't even think I have Canva on here, which is a crying shame because I love Canva. But those are three ones that I use for marketing a lot, and they're super accessible and easy and just, super, super simple. Folio is a transaction management tool that will save you a ton of time because it lives inside your email. And what it does is it reads subject lines and properties. And so it starts to create folders. So if you've got an escrow on Katrina Trail, it reads everything that does Katrina Trail, and it just puts it into a folder. So it's really, really nice. It also can set up some emails for your clients, and it can set up some deadlines. So if you're worried about hitting your deadlines for your Binzer and things like that, Folio is a fantastic transaction management tool, especially for solo agent, to be able to manage some of that stuff. Now, two of my three, I guess, of my favorite email. I could do a whole class on email, to be perfectly honest, because that's one of the time traps that a lot of agents fall into, is they're just always in their email, and email just runs their life. So I use a tool called Boomerang by Gmail. That's a phenomenal tool. What Boomerang does is it's exactly what it says as a boomerang works, right? You throw a boomerang, and what does it do? It comes back to you. So you can use Boomerang. So let's say that you send something out to the cross-sell agent, you send something out to your client that you need to get back from them. You can Boomerang that email and says, hey, if Tracy doesn't send this back to me in the next 24 hours, send the email back to me to remind me, right? How many times have you sent an email out and you forgot that you were waiting to get it back until title or somebody says, hey, I need this. And you're like, oh yeah, I sent that out. So I love Boomerang for that. It also allows you to schedule emails and reoccurring emails. So if you need to schedule an email every single week as a reminder or something like that, it does that. Everybody has the snooze feature built into their Gmail, and I love the snooze feature. Snooze allows you to take something that's in your inbox. So let's say I get an email that I really can't deal with right now. I can push a button and say, you know what, send this back to me. Like, just snooze this until tonight at 5, tomorrow at 3, or Monday at 2, right? It's a great thing to get to clear up your inbox, but not forget about it, because it'll come back to you. And then if you're not using canned emails in Gmail, you're wasting so much time. If you ever find yourself having to write the same email, think of a template email, right? You're writing the same, let me refer you to a lender, let me refer you to home warranty, or, whatever it is. If you find that you're writing the same emails over and over, you can create canned emails. So 2 clicks and it populates 90% of the email. You just change a couple things, maybe the address and the name, and then you're able to send that out. Those are some of my favorite email hacks to save time. I really love video, and so I use BombBomb as my email, video email, and also screen recorder. I really like it, and it's I can shoot off an email. It also tracks emails, which is really nice because it's got an email tracker in there, and you can create beautiful templates that are branded with your company. It's a really cool tool that does so much more than just video email. You can create campaigns, you can create lead forms, you can do a lot of things, newsletters, all sorts of things. I already mentioned Google Calendar and Calendly. So Calendly allows you to send out a link to your calendar where people can book a time that's convenient for them and for you, but you can put rules in there. So again, coaching basketball Tuesday nights, they're never going to be able to book me Tuesday night at 6 o'clock because my Calendly doesn't even give it to them as an option. Right. So it's a really phenomenal tool to cut back that, hey, are you available at this time? Because I'm available at this time. SlideDial and Trello Trello is a like a doing and done board that's free and has some really great applications. I love SlideDial when I need to drop a voicemail to somebody and I don't want to get caught in a long conversation. And then, of course, podcasts and Audible. If you're driving around in your car is your best opportunity to get your MBA, right? Like you should be utilizing the time in the car to absolutely increasing your knowledge. So I recommend that you listen to podcasts, you find a good book and listen to that and really grow and learn in the time in the car, because we do spend a lot of time in the car. And if you're not using a CRM, you absolutely have to. Like it's just a must. So you must do that. At the end of the day, guys, the minutes you need are all around you. We're all given the same amount of time, right? So the plays that I run, remember, get some routines. Make sure those routines are aligned with your goals, right? If you say, I always use this example, you say, I'm going to lose weight, right? I'm going to lose weight. And then I'm over here eating pizza, right? You can't see my hand because the screen's too small, right? I'm over here eating pizza and doing all of this stuff. So my goal's here, but my actions are over here. Align them, right? Make sure your goals are clear and align your actions with your goals. And then you got to start tracking and measuring. So again, use the example of losing weight because that's the simplest one. How do you track and measure that? Get on the scale. If I never get on the scale, I don't know with what I'm doing is working or not working. You have to track and measure your numbers and know your numbers, because marketing is math, real estate is math. Talk to enough people, you will get the business. And then you got to give up old beliefs. You got to give up old beliefs. Start utilizing technology. The technology that's available for real estate agents today is phenomenal. There's no reason that you should be spending time inefficiently doing things. There's ways to do things better. And I just say, give up those old beliefs and get into technology. So I end every single class with one of my favorite sayings or quotes from Jim Rohn. It says, if you really want to do something, you'll find a way. And if you don't, you'll find an excuse. And I find that to be true with everything. It drives my kids nuts because I'm always quoting this. But really, if you want to be successful in real estate, you're going to find a way. Otherwise, you're going to find lots of excuses. You want to work out in the morning, you'll find a way, or you'll find an excuse. You want to prospect. You want to lead generate. You want to. Find the way. The minutes you need are all around you. I appreciate you guys coming to the class and participating. This will be available through my YouTube channel. Make sure to check out bighelpertraining.com. Reach out if you're considering a team. If what you found today was helpful, I would love to have a conversation with you and see if, joining a team might be a good option for you. Have an amazing weekend. Don't let Monday come without planning your next week. So you guys have an awesome weekend, and I appreciate you joining today.